Folks, welcome to a really great event. Daryl is retiring, or so he thinks. Where's Daryl? I gotta be able to. Oh, there he is. Well, like I was saying to a few people earlier, my comments were supposed to be the serious comments. Everybody else can make fun of Daryl, but I can't. So we'll keep it very serious at this point. So 12 years here, 12 years there, 12 years everywhere. I thought that was my line. Well, let me just say a few things about Daryl that I'm sure most of you know, but I think it will be good to hear them again. Daryl has a BS in agronomy from South Dakota State University, an MS from Oklahoma State University, and we do have some people here from Oklahoma State, and a PhD from Kansas State University. So he has been in that position of Associate Director for Extension and Applied Research with K-State Research and Extension since 2004. So it's a little more than 12 years. Now, it would have been less if I hadn't managed to keep him away from retirement for a few years. But after 3 years of having that conversation, Daryl says, well, I don't trust you anymore. So since 2004, Daryl has been in charge of our extension system. And what a job he has done. He has been in charge of a workforce that, although he has gotten smaller over the years because of budgetary issues, still is about 750 to 800 people. Between faculty, extension agents, staff, it's about 800 people and a lot more volunteers. And Daryl has provided leadership for that large group. He's done a great job of bringing our extension system forward, taking care of a lot of things, creating a lot of new initiatives that we didn't have before. He has been a champion of inclusiveness and diversity. He has worked closely to put together program committees. He has worked very closely with volunteers. He has created a strategic plan that has really guided the organization over time. And, you know, I know Daryl doesn't like for me to say this, but he has been a solid supporter not only of extension, but the whole K-State Research and Extension entity, the College of Agriculture, the whole university. He has been a contributor to this place for a long, long time now. And Daryl, we want to thank you for that, and we will miss you. I do want to say that there will be big shoes to fill, literally. So before he started his associate director position, he was actually assistant director for extension for a number of years, since '92. That's a 12-year period. And before that, actually, Daryl was an extension faculty member in agronomy, doing soil fertility and a bunch of other interesting things in agronomy for the University of Missouri. So he has actually moved south all the way down to Oklahoma State. They came back to the same parallel, and then he moved actually to the right place again. So Daryl has done a lot of other things other than working for K-State and KSRE and our extension system. And he has been recognized tremendously for his contributions, both nationally as well as internationally. But just a couple of things of what he has done. He served the North Central Regional Chair, and we will hear from the North Central Region pretty soon here in a minute. But he has served twice in two different occasions for ECOP, which is the Extension Committee on Organization and Policy. He has chaired the National Programming Framework for ECOP. Particularly, he has helped really put together the health and wellness part of this, as well as the 4-H leadership committee that he served on. And he has truly strengthened the ECOP-ESCOP Alliance for advocacy for all sorts of things. Daryl has been recognized extensively in his career. For example, back in 1997, he received a team award for the Atrazine Education Project. In 2001, he received a team award for the Distance Diagnosis Project. In 2004, he received the Builder Award within KSRE. And of course, in 2000, he was recognized by his fellow agronomists, and he became a fellow of the American Society for Agronomy. And finally, what I think is one of the most important components and most important awards, in 2013, Daryl was recognized with the Ruby Distinguished Service Award by Epsilon Sigma Phi, the Extension Professional Organization, which is supposed to be Epsilon Sigma Phi, by the way. I do want to close by saying Daryl and his wife, they have Joyce, his wife Joyce. They have 3 adult daughters, which I believe are here. Thank you. And 2 son-in-laws and 2 grandchildren. 3 grandchildren now. 3 son-in-laws. Oh, I'm behind times here. 3 son-in-laws and 2 grandchildren. 4 grandchildren. See, I'm with you. Well, no wonder you're retiring. All right, this table knows a little too much. Well, Daryl, I want to thank you for 2 things. Number one, for everything you've done for K-State, for KSRE, and for our extension. But I also want to thank you for what you've done for me personally. I've said this before, but I want to repeat it. Daryl has been a great supporter, a great mentor, and truly a great friend since I came to K-State 5 years ago. We would not have been able to do what we've done in the last 5 years without Daryl, without his support. And for that, thank you. Appreciate it. Come on up. So as Daryl is coming up, we do have a gift for Daryl from all of us from the College of Ag and KSRE, and I'm going to hand this to him in just a minute. But the gift is really behind me, and Daryl, you can open it and see what it is. But it's supposed to be golf clubs. But before you do that, let me tell the real story behind it. So I asked Dorothy to go and get some golf clubs, but my order was to get small golf clubs. Yeah. Because you're going to go change it anyway. So we figured, we have a little bit of fun. But I guess they didn't have really small golf clubs. They only sell for big people. So are
they right-handed?
I don't know. So congratulations. I think you need to enjoy retirement with your family. Thank you for everything you've done for us, and don't become a stranger now.
Thank you. Thank you. If they are right-handed, they will be replaced. Thank you. Guys, is it my turn?
No, get off. This is actually Boggs' line, but I'm going to steal it. They are right-handed. You'll finally hit it now. I think. All right. Moving down the administrative ladder, if you will, we would like to have the associate directors of the College of Associate Director of Research and the Associate Director of Academics to come up and say a few words. And we'll start with Ernie Minton on that.
Thank you, Eric. I was able to chat with Eric just a little bit ahead of time and ask specifically as if I could go ahead of Don, because I thought the dean would be first and he'd be dull, and then I'd be second and I'd be even duller, and then Don would really kind of bring us up like he always does with some gag gifts and that sort of thing. And so I've also, yeah, he's not that dull, is he, Provost? So I've applied in that vein a 2.5% rescission to the length of my comments, and so I'm going to be brief. Is that the number? Okay, good. So, you know, Daryl, they teach us in leadership training, you know, you need to make 3 major points, and so I came up with 2 and struggling for a third, but I'll come up with one eventually. I remember in late January, maybe it was early February 2008, I got a call from Daryl asking me if I'd consider putting my application in for, at that time, the interim associate director of the experiment station. Forrest Chumley had announced his retirement and was going to leave, and Daryl said, you know, we wouldn't be calling you if we weren't convinced that you could do the job. And I thought to myself, wow, I wasn't convinced myself that I could do the job, so I appreciated that vote of confidence. And so, you know, my first series of comments will be to thank Daryl for being a fantastic mentor at the administrative level. I'd never done a role like this exactly, obviously, before. And Daryl, the opportunity that I had to work with you directly has just been fantastic and really helped shape the decision-making and approach to budget cutting, all those kinds of things that turn out to be really kind of important. And of course, there were the other kinds of relationship building opportunities that we had going across the state, going to Parsons, going to Olathe, going here in Garden City, here and there, and getting back from Colby, I recall, with the dean behind the wheel in record time one night. It may have been 3.5 hours. Is that possible? No. It looked like him, but it was you. Okay. So great mentor, and I really do appreciate that Daryl. It's been wonderful. The second thing that I want to convey, and you know this already because of who's here, is that you've been an incredibly dedicated servant to Extension and that mission. And so many people across the U.S., certainly in Kansas, but beyond that, and there are a couple of tables there that testify to just in what regard you're held by Extension professionals. And in fact, I was on a conference call a day or two before from Steve Slack, who also, by the way, is failing at retirement, but who said, "Wow, you're having to replace a legend in Extension in Kansas." And I said, "That's certainly the truth, and it'll be a difficult thing for us to do." So appreciate your dedication to that leg of the land grant mission. But the last thing that I'll say is, you know, the more important thing are your personal attributes, Daryl. You know, that integrity and sense of what's right are really what make the other things, you know, kind of secondary. And also your very, very obvious dedication to your family is wonderful, and I wish you nothing but the best in the coming years, and great experience or travels and the kinds of things you're going to do with them. I know you're looking forward to that, enjoying the grandchildren and so on. So it's been great, Daryl. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the pressure, Ernie. Well, Daryl, come on up here. We're continuing the tradition. Oh, wait, come on up, Daryl. I have some gifts for you. These are very valuable. So, for those of you that are new here, I traditionally kind of go through and find treasures in my office to share with folks upon their retirement. But I kind of went a little above and beyond this time, actually, Daryl. I've got some, I cleaned out for Graham, so I was kind of nervous. The smartest thing you ever did was moving out of your office before Stephen started cleaning his out, because everybody here has got stuff from Stephen's office in their office now. So, good move. You did well. So, but anyway, you're going to have a lot of free time, and you've done a lot of traveling on your own around the country and around the state, but I think as you move forward into retirement, very seriously, I think you need to really think about some global travel. Your wife would love that. I know when we went to Italy last year, Joyce was really excited to hear our stories and such, so we all went together and have purchased for you an Italian book. So when you pony up some of that retirement money, you can take Joyce there, so you'll know all the proper phrases.
Thank you.
Okay. Second one, you're going to need some new hobbies and such. We would recommend you join 4-H. We don't know what the polar I don't know what the polar opposite of clover buds is, but you're it, okay? Rank dry hay or something like that.
Thank you.
Now that you're on a fixed income, I know what you're going to do with 3 sons-in-law over here. This will let you find the good beer on the back of the shelf without them seeing it, and you can open it up right there. So you got that little light. So sorry, guys, it's good stuff's going the other way. Now, active guy like you're going to be home, and I'm not kind of reading up on this retirement stuff too, and it sounds like when someone's been as active as you have, when you get home, there's not, you haven't told me how you're going to fill all your time, so it sounds like there's going to be this opportunity for some nervousness, some angst, some anxiety, and some real tension. And so, Joyce, I've got you a tension reliever, because it's going to be on you, all that tension. So, you definitely are going to need a tension reliever. And Joyce was telling Rosemary and I just the other day when we had brunch there that you didn't have a desk, so she doesn't want your stuff on her areas, okay? So I think you're going to probably be getting a desk. So I've been able to obtain this desk. It's a calculator, it's a clock, anything you could ask for to go on your desk, and in the tradition of just like you, it doesn't work anymore either. So. Now, I asked Sherry. I think Sherry got Stephen's clock working. Yeah, she was going to go home and work on it. Seriously, I was at a retirement last year, and I heard, no, you can't. Heard a person refer to a person they worked with as the North Star for the organization. And I can't think of an analogy that does a better job of representing you as your continuing guidance. Some days brighter than others. No, sorry. There's a lot of no. But your continuing guidance, steady influence, leading us through some tough times, leading in new organizational directions. You have been the North Star, and a lot of extension directors, associate directors of extension. You've been the one for extension. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ernie and Don, and I assure you everybody in this room is eagerly awaiting for Boggs' retirement. That's not a roast, that's a whole barbecue right there. Yeah, it's coming, and we'll be there. Next presenter is Assistant Director for Family and Consumer Sciences for Extension, Paula Peters. She has a presentation, and Daryl, you need to come back up, actually. You're not in control of this event, you see. So.
Well, I figured by this time you'd be tired of hearing from old white guys. So now you get an old white girl, right? Daryl, we've been working together for a very long time. Sometimes it feels like yesterday that we got to know each other. But during those more than 17 years, we've spent a lot of time on the road. A lot of time driving across the state of Kansas or flying across the country to meetings to go visit Dave or whoever we were going to see, and spending time on the road with Daryl. If any of you have ever been in a car with Daryl, Pat, yeah, and Greg, you know, you hear a lot of stories. Lots of stories. And I can't share any of them with you. Mostly because I can't remember them, but not because they're bad stories. But there is one story I want to share about travel, and you probably know what I'm going to talk about, because it was right after I started as assistant director, and we were, Gary Gerhardt, who was the 4-H program leader, and Daryl and I, Daryl as program leader for agriculture, were traveling to home from a Great Plains directors meeting, I think it was. Maybe we were in Sioux Falls or Fargo or somewhere. Maybe it was Lincoln. I don't remember exactly where. But Daryl always wants to take the back roads everywhere, right? And it's always a shortcut. Everything's a shortcut. So we made it back, yeah. We're here to tell the story, but you know, we were traveling. We were in Nebraska somewhere, Albert. I don't know exactly where it was. I'll probably would never be able to get back there again because we were in the middle of I don't know where, and it was a shortcut. So we were cutting through, and we ended up. I think we ended up on dirt roads, and I know we were driving through people's yards practically, and we got to the point where we needed to get across a river in order to get from Nebraska into Kansas, and there aren't very many bridges on these back roads, so we couldn't get across the river. We ended up going all the way back over to, I don't know, way out of the way. I was about an hour and a half late getting home, and Joyce, you've probably been there with him a lot. And he was late getting home because he took a shortcut, right? But anyway, it lends to a good story, and we've had a lot of good times on the road. But what I really wanted to share with everybody today and with Daryl is something from the heart of Family and Consumer Sciences. State and regional level staff have wanted to share with you. So I'm going to. It's a photograph of a wheat field, but when we saw this beautiful picture, thought that would be perfect for Daryl and Joyce, and I hope it fits in your home, but we've each all signed it as well. And we feel strongly about how well you have guided us through the last many years and wanted to share something back with you. So thank you for being a good leader, for being supportive, and being a good mentor for us in Family Consumer Sciences, and thank you again.
Thank you, Paula. And Paula's peer on the Agriculture and Natural Resources side, Greg Hadley, has a few words he wants to share as well. And
Daryl, you get to stay seated this time. Unfortunately, that also means you don't get a gift from me. But about 6 years ago, just about right at this time, I met Daryl during the interview for this position, his old position. And my first thoughts about Daryl was, man, he is inappropriately tall. And I was a specialist in Wisconsin, had no leadership background whatsoever. And I was looking for a cooler climate to live in, and Daryl decided to take a chance on me and had me come down here. He really had a very unique indoctrination program. Because I was used to my own little world as an extension specialist, in control of everything that I did just fine. And I really had no idea what to expect. And so the first day on the job, I go there and I sit down, and Daryl looks at me from over the desk, and he goes, "So you've got a lot to accomplish, and I just want you to know you have very little authority to get it done with." And then I go, "Well, I'm excited to get started. So what are we going to do first?" And today he goes, "Well, we've got a group in, and you're going to chauffeur a bunch of people around campus, and then at night you're going to tend bar for them." And my response was, "Will my mom find out?" And then he took me across the state to the my first North Central meeting, and Dave Baker was host and Robin was host, and it was a great thing. But being a specialist, I really didn't like big conferences. And it was there that I realized, oh my gosh, I have become them. And then the next phase, though, was a grand tour of Kansas in 2011. And if you remember back that far, especially, we were heading to Garden City. It was awfully hot. Everything was brown. Horse Thief Reservoir was a mud puddle. And about that point, Daryl looks over at me, and it's been kind of quiet in the car, and he goes, "By the way, you got to get this water issue solved." And I'll just remind everybody, in just 5 years, look outside at the grass. I did my job there. But anyway, after that, it was all good. And so I'm going to tell you what I remember about Daryl these past 5 years. The first year, my better 7/8 and I had to live apart. And every football game, Joyce and Daryl had me sitting with them. I'll always remember, there's only 2 lines that Daryl would give me when I would come into his office. And they're both relatively the same. However, the intonation's a little different. If I walk in and I didn't close the door behind me, he would look at me and go, "What's up?" And then if I walked in the door and I walked in and I closed the door behind me, he'd look at me and go, "Uh-oh. What's up?" I'll always remember that first taste of his notoriously weak coffee in the morning. And let me tell you, don't talk to Dale. I know it is bad. At one point in time, he asked me, "You would rather pay $5 for coffee than drink mine for free?" And I said yes. But will always remember one point in time, Shelley and I had a health scare. Shelley went to the ER, and I feel my pocket vibrating. I go, oh no, not now. I reach in, and it's a text from Daryl, and he says, I'm in the lobby. So I'll always remember that. I'll always remember long discussions about extension, KSRE, and how to improve both. Long discussions about life and how to laugh about it and enjoy it. I'll always remember, most of all, his encouragement of me to be a better me. And I'll leave you with two quotes. A lot of you know that I love quotes. Ken Blanchard on leadership, and I think this describes his leadership to a T. In the past, a leader was a boss. Today's leaders must be partners with their people, and I don't know a better partner than Daryl. And historian Henry Adams said, a teacher affects eternity. He can never tell where his influence stops. And Daryl, what you have taught all of us will go on for eternity. Thank you.
Nice job, Greg. Many thanks. There's no better testimonial to the worth of an individual in a system or the respect of that same individual than to have peers not only from within the system locally and in the state, but from outside the state come to an event like this to salute the individual, in this case, Daryl. We happen to have here several representatives of the North Central Extension Directors Group, and they are going to make a presentation, or at least one of their representatives shortly. I want to introduce them briefly. Robin Shepard is the director of the North Central Cooperative Extension Association. You might stand, Robin. There you are. David Baker is the former agricultural and natural resources leader, University of Missouri. Chuck Hibbard is the director of University of Nebraska Extension. Jim Trapp is the director of Oklahoma State University Extension. And Albert Dickey is retired, but former extension director at the University of Nebraska. Thank you all very much for being here. And you have a presentation, Chuck, to make to Daryl.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's good to see all of you, and what a great day to honor Daryl and Joyce and an amazing career. Daryl knows about this. When an extension administrator in North Central Region retires, we prepare a set of resolutions. And Daryl, I can tell you that, yeah, he's wondering right now what's going to happen in the next few minutes, right? Because typically everybody pitches in on these resolutions, and the architects of these resolutions, Dave and Robin and Rick, said that they got enough to fill like 30 pages. But we're going to read one tonight, okay? So anyway, in honor of our NCCEA colleague, whereas Daryl Buchholz is retiring from his position as Associate Director of Extension and Applied Research in the College of Agriculture at Kansas State University, and whereas Daryl Buchholz has served in various roles within cooperative extension in the North Central region over the past 37 years, and whereas, as further evidence of his high esteem among extension colleagues, Daryl Buchholz was honored with the Distinguished Service Ruby Award by the Epsilon Sigma Phi in 2013, and whereas we have all benefited by Daryl's leadership in various state, regional, and national roles, and whereas Daryl Buchholz exhibited free thinking, independence, and ingenuity from the young age of 3. I don't know where this came from. When he snuck outside his rural South Dakota homestead to take his dad's truck for a drive. His parents ran outside just in time to see the truck run into the corn crib and found Daryl on the floorboard. Even at that age, it is believed that Daryl's legs were long enough to reach the clutch. Is that true? And whereas such driving commitment and dedication to the land-grant university mission began soon after the corn crib incident for Daryl, as a member of the South Dakota Belmont Baby Beef 4-H Club, he took part in livestock, clothing, thus the early interest in purple, and horticulture projects. And whereas, as a high school basketball standout out of Hitchcock, South Dakota, Daryl displayed early leadership qualities, helping his team win the state championship. Some witnesses, however, in the early 70s say his real prowess on the court involved towering over the competition, standing under the basket, and waiting for a rebound. That proved to be good training for his future in extension administration, understanding how one must wait sometimes a long, long time for our programs to have impact. And whereas Daryl Buchholz avoided NBA scouts and turned to lucrative opportunities in agriculture, earning degrees from 3 different land-grant universities. Daryl, it only gets better. Whereas Daryl Buchholz began his extension career in the early 80s as a state specialist and division program leader at the University of Missouri. As program leader, he refined his ability to concisely and clearly communicate with upper-level administrators. On one such concise communication event to the Vice President for Extension, resulted in his receiving the one-time Silver Bullet Award. This is a recognition that we all have one silver bullet to ward off the effect of quick-triggered administrative responses that probably should have best thought about and not acted upon. Whereas many say Daryl Buchholz has extension in his bones that also make him the tallest extension administrator in the North Central region, if not the country. And whereas Daryl Buchholz has bled the Wildcat purple of KSU in his commitment to his state. In fact, that's always a question we have for Daryl. How many purple shirts do you own? He won't answer the question. His allegiance to the KSU baseball team, and yes, even his wardrobe. And whereas Daryl Buchholz has made a lasting impact on cooperative extension in Kansas, the North Central region, and nationally, not merely because of his looming stature or wearing K-State purple, but rather his leadership that draws us together to focus on the resources of our land-grant institutions, focusing on the pressing problems of the day. And whereas after nearly 4 decades in cooperative extension, there are still some tasks that colleagues avoid Daryl's expertise, including, as Greg mentioned, making notoriously weak coffee and ordering craft beer for an entire group. And whereas Daryl Buchholz has inspired so many extension professionals by encouraging us to ask ourselves, why? Calling attention to the core mission of our land-grant universities. Whereas Daryl Buchholz has earned the opportunity to enjoy life, travel with choice, and to visit their 3 daughters and their families, and be it further resolved, the North Central Region Extension Deans and Directors do hereby extend our most heartfelt thanks and gratitude for your many years of dedicated leadership to Extension, and wish Daryl and Joyce our best wishes for a happy, healthy, and long next chapter in their personal and professional endeavors. Thank you so much. Thank you both. Robin has a few gifts for you.
On behalf of the North Central Directors, Daryl, there's the framed version. And then we have another few gifts, kind of a token of appreciation that are yours on behalf of the directors.
Thank Thank you, Chuck and group, and we really, really do appreciate you making the trip down here. Thank you very much. Daryl, as many of you know, has been over the years a quite staunch supporter of the Master Farm Homemaker program. He champions that program as much, if not more, than anybody else. And we do have two individuals who we have a little something for Daryl as well. From the Master Farmer Association, Roger Pine is here. Roger, I think. Is he? There he is. Come on up, Roger. And Paula Blasey, representing the Master Homemakers Guild. We'd ask them to come forward and share a few comments and stuff.
Well, I don't know you well enough, Daryl, to tell any funny stories about you. But tall people rule, okay? Yeah. So on behalf of the Kansas Master Farmers and Kansas Master Farm Homemakers, we would like to recognize you for your dedication, devotion, and service to our organizations. We appreciate your leadership and the support that Extension has given to us over the years. I don't think our organizations could function without Extension, and we just appreciate your leadership. So thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it, Daryl. Thank you, Roger.
I just want to reiterate what has just been said, and to say that he's been a strong supporter of this organization, and we certainly appreciate it, but also Extension in general. We owe great gratitude to you for that, and I've got, not only was I in 4-H, but I've got 3 grandchildren in 4-H in Douglas County, and we appreciate you being part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula and Roger. And Daryl's going to stay right here for the 4-H program as a little something to share. And we have Beth Hinshaw and Diane Mack from the state 4-H program to pass along some thoughts and some hardware as well.
Well, we are very pleased to be here today on behalf of the Kansas Association of Extension 4-H Agents to present to Dr. Daryl Buchholz the NAE 4-HA Distinguished Service Award. Daryl is an inspirational leader that cares about all parts of Extension. We appreciate his support of the 4-H program, even at one point serving as our interim state leader for 17 months and giving great guidance over the years to the 4-H department. His support has been essential as we've worked to expand Kansas 4-H and to improve our marketing and focus our professional development offerings as well. Congratulations, Daryl, and thank you for everything.
Thank you, Beth and Diane. And we've got one more, maybe. We have some recognition from the Huck Boyd National Institute for Rural Development, and its director, Ron Wilson, is here to make a presentation and then some. Ron?
Two quick presentations. Daryl, you might as well come up forward. I know that you have absolutely no idea what kind of gift we might present to you from the Huck Boyd board, because you've helped do this for about a half dozen of our board chairs, so you probably know exactly what is coming, but I would appreciate it if you would open this gift. Daryl plays many roles, as you know, many leadership positions across the state and nationally and within and beyond Extension. One of his roles is to serve as a member of the board of directors of the Huck Boyd National Institute for Rural Development here at Kansas State. And Daryl has been an outstanding member of our board for a number of years. And Janice has prepared this package so well that you're never going to get it open. There we go. This is a picture of Daryl at the event where we recognized Senator Bob Dole last fall for a Lifetime Achievement Award for service to rural Kansas. The photo of the mat is signed by Senator Dole, Senator Nancy Cassavan Baker, President Myers, Provost Mason, Dean Floros, and all the members of the Huck Boyd National Institute for Rural Development Board, Jackie, Secretary McClaskey, and others. Daryl, thank you so much for all you've done for the Huck Boyd Institute and all you've done for rural Kansas. We really appreciate it. Thanks. And so the second presentation is I've written a cowboy poem in honor of Daryl. I'm sad to say that Daryl Buchholz has retired because he exemplifies the many qualities that we've admired. He's given leadership to K-State Extension for many years and touched so many lives as they advanced through their careers. At South Dakota State, he earned his first degree, then Oklahoma State and Kansas State for his PhD. He worked in Missouri and came back to Manhattan to stay. He's had a lifetime in Extension, serving people along the way. He's led Extension to new heights despite a tough budget road, encouraging professionalism through the Extension Workers Code. Does that sound familiar, guys? He's challenged and encouraged us, taught us to grow and try to fulfill the land grant mission and to always start with why. He's had a great career in Extension administration with leadership roles in Kansas and across the entire nation. So we thank him for his service in more ways than we can tell. He's earned a great retirement. Daryl and Joyce, we wish you well.
Thank you, Ron, very much. We appreciate that. We do like to offer at least some of the family an opportunity to make any poignant remarks about the honoree and ask the daughters if they would like to collectively or individually share some thoughts about Dad. So Joan and Jenna, please come up.
We did not come here knowing that we were going to be speaking. So this is very just off the top of our heads. I'm Joan. I'm Daryl's oldest daughter, Anne, and then Jenna. It's a privilege to be here and to hear all the amazing things that you're saying about our dad. We've always known that he's amazing. But it's been an honor to grow up and watching you work. Being passionate about your job and the things that you do, giving 100% to your work, but then also giving 100% to us. Dad was always at all of our events, coaching softball, being involved in 4-H projects. He's just always there. And even as we've grown older and our families now. So it's a privilege to be here. So excited to celebrate you today. I was going to say something about some advice that Dad has given me, and it was a lot of times the advice that Dad gives us is in the form of jokes or stuff that we roll our eyes to. And actually, it was probably 7 years ago that it was Christmas Eve service. We were in Redfield, South Dakota. We were all in church, and it was kind of a mess to get everybody in church. You know how it is, Colin, right? That's kind of, yeah. So somehow my husband ended up being down the row from us. He was sitting next to Jenna, and I was sitting down here, and Dad was sitting next to me, and my husband's name is TJ. Dad turns to me and says, "So, do you like TJ?" And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, most of the time." And I said, being my father's daughter, I said, "So, do you like Mom?" And he goes, "Yeah, all the time." And so I felt kind of bad, like saying most of the time. And so I said, well, and this was probably right after their 30th wedding anniversary. And so their anniversary was in August, and so December. And I said, how long did it take you to get to the point where you could say that you liked Mom all the time? Without even skipping a beat, he goes, 30 years. And he probably didn't realize that at the moment, but that was really good marital advice for me, but also good advice that, you know, the best things in life are a lot of hard work. They take time, they take dedication, and I've always taken that and kind of laughed at that story, but I also took a good lesson away from that. So many more lessons like that we've gotten through the years, and so, but it's fun to hear more from all of you too. So thanks, Dad. Proud of you.
So I'm the daughter that came back. So there was a hard day where I decided I didn't want to be a teacher anymore. And I called my parents and just said, what if I came back to K-State? Because I had my first degree from K-State. What if I just like moved back into your basement? And would you guys be okay with that? And the fact that both of them, without missing a beat, were like, absolutely. Move back into our basement, you know, and of course I'm a typical millennial moving back into my parents' basement. But it was a kind of a cool experience because I had been out for a little while and, you know, I was unmarried at the time, and I just hung out with my parents for 2.5 years, showing them the programs that I wrote and being able to go back and do exactly what I wanted to do. And without missing a beat, they just completely supported me in that. And my dad's, you know, such a great role model for what I'm supposed to be like. You know, working full-time job in a workplace, giving me all those little nuggets of wisdom. You know, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, you missed it. So I'm early to all meetings, which is awkward sometimes. But, you know, he taught me all those lessons, and it's really fun to call him and share my excitement with him with any job promotions, any exciting new job opportunities that I get, because he's right there, understanding what I'm going through, and just such a supportive person. So honestly, I wouldn't be where I am without my parents supporting me 110%, and my dad being such a great example for me throughout all the years. So thank you, Dad, and thank you all of you for coming. It's so great to hear all the stories and kind of piece together all the people that we've heard about for so many years and put faces to those names. So thank you so much for coming and celebrating my dad with us.
Thank you, ladies, and you do represent your folks very, very well. This next part, Daryl, you actually asked for this. You think about this later. I have here a letter from an individual who regrettably could not be here to share in this occasion of recognizing Daryl today. This letter was passed on, and I am compelled to share the letter with you. And I hopefully will share it in the tone and demeanor of how it will be presented by this individual should he be here. So please now hear the words of Dr. Barry Flinchbaugh. To my esteemed colleague and friend, Daryl Buchholz, I greatly regret not being able to attend your official send-off. As you hear this letter being read by the fine MC for this event, Kathy and I are in New Hampshire, awaiting the arrival of our first grandchild. I've been instructed by the mother and the grandmother-to-be to be on my best behavior when the kid shows up, and let the doctors and nurses do their jobs. But as you know, that's not my nature. I vividly recall what you said to me when I was retiring from Extension 10 years or so ago now. I had said to you at that time, I believe that Extension in Kansas has a brighter future ahead. And you said, well, with you retiring, Flinchbaugh, that's obvious. It's been several years, and I'm still not sure what you meant by that. I can't imagine anyone with a better temperament for running the Extension Service in Kansas. Studious, even-handed leadership. Calm, subtle, just like my speeches. It takes someone with a special demeanor to get out there and work with all those different extension stakeholders out across the state with results, especially with all the wingnuts out there. Everywhere you look, wingnuts on the left, wingnuts on the right. It's a royal mess. This country's in trouble. What's going on is a catastrophe, big time. But I digress, which is rare for me. As you know, I've been involved in writing farm bills since the first one in 1933. And as I think back on your exceptional service to Extension, I'm reminded of some advice that Teddy Roosevelt once gave me. Speak softly and carry a big stick. That captures your leadership style very well. Incidentally, I've allowed others to use that phrase over the years. Speak softly, carry a big stick. Having known you for as long as I have, I know that this occasion, honoring you, makes you a bit uncomfortable because you have always shunned the limelight, much like myself. But as you join the retiree club, know that your contributions are universally appreciated. Feel free to borrow my cane at any time, as necessary. Although at your height, you'll have to add an extension to it. That's a joke. You've done well for a farm boy from South Dakota. I'm looking forward to continuing our Friday afternoon sessions at the So Long Saloon. Because, as you know, I'm never at a lack of things to say. Kindest regards, Barry Flintsbaugh, retired Extension Agricultural Policy Specialist, Kansas State University. Remember what you said the same way? Remember that? Yeah, okay. All right, briefly here, because we have food waiting and we have a lot of other things going on, a lot of chances to mingle with people. Does anybody have a quick comment from the floor about Daryl that they'd like to make? Or would you, if you'd rather reserve that for directly to him later? Maybe that's the best thing. Oh, Mr. Jardine back here, there's a microphone somewhere. Where is our microphone so everybody can hear you? We did have a microphone. Dan, where did it go? Come on up, Doug. We'll use this one.
Well, this is just not about Daryl. Some of you might know I'm currently the Regional Vice President for the North Central Division of Epsilon Sigma Phi, and I'm also the historian for the Alpha Rho chapter here at Kansas State. And it occurred to me when I was sitting back there that there's a rather rare occurrence here today, and I just wanted to make sure it got recognized. You remember when Dean Flores was up here in outlining Daryl's accolades, the last one was that he was the recipient of the Distinguished Ruby Award from Epsilon Sigma Phi, the highest award that the extension profession organization presents. I don't know if any other state can claim this, but there are 2 other Ruby Award winners in the room today, and I just wanted to make sure that they got recognized. A previous extension director, Dick Wooten, over here. Dick. And our current acting extension director, Jim Lindquist. And seriously, I don't know if there's any other state that could claim at a local event to have 3 Ruby Award winners in the same room, and I just wanted to make sure that that got recognized.
Okay. John Forsey from the River Valley Extension District. John?
Well, I'm here representing Epsilon Sigma Phi, and Daryl, on behalf of all of the agent associations in Epsilon Sigma Phi, I want to express our gratitude. Professional development was always just a given and an encouragement, and Daryl, you set a fabulous example of what we need to do in terms of professional development, always be lifelong learners as we serve our constituents, and as I've had the opportunities to get to know you, and especially in Pilled when I brought my wife along, I really got the sense of that family and how important family is to you, and you always create or treat everyone, no matter what level of extension, as a peer, and always have, both on a personal and professional level, sound advice, as your daughters mentioned, those tidbits of wisdom that we all should live by, and you've been a fabulous example for all of us. And on behalf of the members of the Alpha Rho chapter of Epsilon Sigma Phi, we are pleased to pay your lifetime members in Epsilon Sigma Phi.
Thank you, John. Dale Fiel, keep it short.
That's going to be hard to do. We've been talking about these recent things that have happened, and you see how Daryl looks now. And I hope you saw some pictures of him. Well, see, that's like what he is now. But there are some pictures back when he was a grad student. Well, that's even earlier. But when he was a graduate student working on his PhD at K-State, he was in soil fertility. And I was working on a PhD in crops. So we were kind of, crops and soils and a little bit of difference there. But all today, everybody's been talking what a team player Daryl has been and is. Well, he was that when he was a graduate student, because, and I can't tell much about what went on as his team traveled the state. He traveled the state as the director, but he had traveled the state as a graduate student probably many times more than he ever did as a director. And yeah, that's all we can say about it. I know he got things done. Yeah, that kind of stuff. But the other thing that went on at that time, Joyce was in the lab. And there was a picture of her about that age, too. And I know they'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but that's where they met. And that was the one thing that got Daryl back into town more often. I think otherwise they'd have probably still been out there, his crew of soil fertility people. Of course, I kept saying, what's the big deal about soil fertility? You just put either one fish in the hole or 2 fish in the hole, and that's the fertilizer. You didn't really need to worry about that. But he felt that, it was important, and he's kept his agronomy, the knowledge that he had. Of course, again, soil fertility. It doesn't take much to remember that. But all these years, and I got to work with Daryl. Then I retired just recently and got to work with him then. So we've spent a lot of years together, and I really appreciate the friendship. We live close enough that we walk together at night. Occasionally, but we try to. And so it's just been very special having you as a special friend, and Joyce.
I think we'll make time for one more. Is there any last call? Dan Devlin.
Hey, good. It's good to be here. Good to hear all these great stories about Daryl. And as a good friend, I thought I had to get up here and talk about Daryl. And, thanks, Daryl, for the friendship, and it's nice to see your family again, and wish you well in retirement. I think back to Daryl, all the fun stuff we did and Daryl had some unique, we talked about the why, Daryl would say why, and I had that also. I also think about the no with Daryl, because Daryl, for probably the last 5 or 6 years, twice a week I went to your office for coffee in the morning at 7. And every time I went there, I was trying to get money out of Daryl. And I'd make a request, and I was thinking today, Daryl, it's probably been 300 times I've asked you for money, and you've always said no. Always. Now, I've been to Ernie's office, and Ernie says maybe sometimes. Ernie says no, and I think back, and what I really appreciated about Daryl and Extension is he really, it's not Extension, it's the people of Kansas. How do we make research and extension more relevant to Kansas? And I've always appreciated Daryl being able to go over and say, what about that? Who's the agent out in Comanche County, for example, or Clark County? And Daryl always seemed to know him, and I think my most frustrating time with Daryl ever was we were in Liberal on a Friday at noon, and I left in a car with he and Fred Cholick. And I was thinking, it's noon, we've been gone several days in a meeting, and we can get home by 5. And so Fred and Daryl were in the front seat, and all at once they decided we were on Highway 54, and Daryl decided with Fred we were going to stop at every county extension office on the way back. And we went to the first one or two, and it just scared the agent to death. Here comes the dean and Daryl unannounced on a Friday afternoon, and I go, I think you need to call ahead, to let them know, no, it's not any big deal. We're just going to stop by and say hi, Daryl. But again, I think it's it's that relationship with the agents that I've really appreciated, Daryl, and all the advice over the years. I was over there the last day in the office, and I said, Daryl, have you got any money? And again, he gave me the similar answer. What'd you tell me, Daryl? Yeah.
Thank you, Dan. It's time now to hear from our honoree, but just as one final salute, as all of you in Extension know, Dr. Buchholz was a stickler for us wearing our name badges. So, there. I hope you're happy. Ladies and gentlemen, Daryl Buchholz.
There isn't anything left to say except that about 3 o'clock this morning I'm going to start tweeting. For all of the inaccuracies and untruths that have been told thus far today. Let me just begin by saying thank you from the bottom of my heart that you're all here. The comments that were made, the suggestions of little things that Daryl may have done or whatever that is, quite frankly, it's because of all of you. That's what has made K-State Extension a great organization. It's all of you. And just to have that opportunity to work with all of you. And when I say that, I extend that to some of you would say, well, I don't have any extension stripes, or I don't work for Extension. Yes, you do. You're volunteers. You're a part of, and you're what makes the organization so great. So thank you for that. I also want to do a shout out, and you're going to have to help me do that shout out. Well, there's a number of you here today that it surprised me to see you walk through the doors, and so deep in my heart, there is one individual who would have loved to have been here today but couldn't. But she's been able to watch this entire event with the cell phone, and that's my mother. So if there's any of that wisdom that I've bestowed, it's because of my mom and my dad, quite frankly. The the upbringing that they gave me. She so much wanted to be down here today, but she is happily in the assisted living and doing wonderfully there. We're going to see her later in the week, and so I wasn't sure that we were going to have it live like this, but that's also part of the reason why we're doing the videotape of all of this, was because she wanted to be a part of that. So she goes by Elaine, or as all the grandkids would say, Gigi. Great grandma. Anyway, let me take a moment just to introduce my family. You've heard about my lovely wife Joyce, 37 years, almost. That'd be that in August, I guess it is. But my daughters kind of blew me away, because I know they didn't know they were going to be up here. I didn't know they were going to be up here until they got up here. But so youngest daughter Jenna and her husband Mike Donnelly, they live over in the Kansas City area. And then Ann and TJ, and they've got 2 grandchildren, Joey and Hunter. And Hunter's back there, he's the month and a half old. Ann and TJ, Joey and Hunter. And then, there's Joan. Joan and Mickey and Nolan and Dana. And Dana is, yep, she's over on the floor over there. But from Minneapolis, St. Paul, I didn't mention that Ann and TJ live down in Derby. And so Manhattan's home, and we're going to be staying right here. I do want to do another shout out to our National Association retired leadership, Jane Schuhart. Jane came all the way from northern Nebraska, but otherwise she and her husband Rick would have been coming here from Washington D.C. as she was executive director for the Cooperative Extension System and ECOP when I was chair of ECOP, and what a great working relationship, and thank you, Jane, for being here today. Beth Heck is here on behalf of National 4-H Council. Thank you for being here, Beth. Pat McNally, you know, if I start naming names, then I'm going to get in trouble, but because past extension directors, so many of you that, you know, quite frankly, just made things wonderful, and so great to have you here. Albert, thank you for all the mentoring. Ray Ward, my major advisor, who sucked me out of South Dakota and took me down to Oklahoma State and abandoned me before I finished my master's, but set me on the right path, Ray, and Dr. Ray Ward, Kearney, Nebraska, he and his wife Jolene. And you talk about individuals that take you in open arms when you're a graduate student and moving out of South Dakota to foreign land of Oklahoma. Quite a traumatic experience, but took us in with open arms and helped move me on my trajectory. And then Dave Whitney is here. Where's Dave at? Way back over in there. Dave, and then Larry Murphy. Where's Larry? Larry's over here. A couple of guys that here at Kansas State University that were my major professors. They teamed up, said this guy's going to need 2 to get him through a PhD program. But then Larry, bless his heart, he abandoned me too during that process. But the tremendous training and mentorship and leadership that took place, and I could go on and on because all of you, such great experiences and time spent, and whether you thought I was mentoring you, quite frankly, I felt like you've been mentoring me everywhere we go and throughout the course of life, and it means so much. They've talked about, and I had 3 broad goals, and we ran with that. And those 3 broad goals, I'm just going to mention those: professional excellence. You've seen evidence of that today. The second one, relevant, high-quality programming, and diversity and inclusiveness. Those were the 3 goals that were set for me, quite frankly, through a strategic planning process when I came into this job, and I was able to run with those for the entire time. And the team of administrative, extension administrative group latched onto those, and if you start looking at it and think about some of the stories that were told and the fun that we had, quite frankly, it was all moving those goals forward throughout the system. So I can look at it and say, well, hey, we've gone from 5 counties being extension districts to 48. We've done the change agent states and navigating difference and helped us in inclusiveness. We've moved 4-H to being a program that is truly for all young people, regardless of your ethnic background or your race. We've done so many of those kinds of things that have really helped move this organization forward, and it's because of all of you. And I've just had the opportunity during that period of time to sit in the associate director's office and tell Dan no through all of that. But it just warms my heart. And if I had not had the support of my wife and my family at home and my mother, you know, I'm going along here, and this is what gets scary. I think it's on the backside. Some of you know how I handle cards, you know, and I just start throwing them and things like that. And then I get mixed up because the other ones that surprised me just yesterday to let me know that they were going to be here is my sister Kathy and her husband Jim Olson from up in South Dakota yet. And so thankful that they came. And my sister taught me all about what it means to be a true professional as the best darn home economics agent, or home economics teacher in the state of South Dakota for an entire career, and is retired now in that. But that leadership, and then my nephew here who's seeing to it, Colin is seeing to it that his grandmother has the opportunity to be here today as well. So, and then for everyone else that I've forgotten, my deepest apologies. Thank you all so very, very much. What a tremendous experience it's been. 37 years in extension, but the last 12 here at K-State as the associate director, and getting to know each and every one of you, and each and every one of you in a personal and professional kind of a way, and that's been so important. So thank you all very, very much, and time to party.